The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. That's right. Today is Thursday, December 7th, and today is National Smile Day. It's also National Illinois Day, International Civil Aviation Day, National Cotton Candy Day, National Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day, and they're saying that it's the first night of Hanukkah. Not sure, but maybe, possibly. Anyways, thank you for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look down below on the screen to see where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube. And we are also streaming on Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook. So welcome to anyone joining us from any of those audiences. That's right. Coming up first, though, we have the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte, who chose not to wear a hat today because obviously his hair must be fresh to death. Oh, yes, that is right. It is the dope dad himself, Rico Lamitte.
Oh, man. Jason?
Yeah, buddy. You got something to sip on, I see. You got a different cup today.
Sipping on this Republican tea today.
I love it. I love it. That shit tastes the best.
All that talk about head coaches, the head coach-less Michigan Wolverine football team getting in that ass 2 weekends ago for rivalry week must have struck a nerve with these flip-flopping ass Republicans in Ohio. Kyle Yeager broke the news yesterday afternoon on Marijuana Moment that in the quickest governmental about-face in the history of legalized weed, with a vote of 28-2, Ohio's GOP-led Senate amended and approved a bill that actually reflected the desired sentiments of the people. Can we get a round of applause for that? For the people.
For the people. For the people. The people. All the people.
That's right, y'all. The new law is set to go into effect today, and adult use sales will be permitted for Ohioans 21 and older from existing medical dispensaries immediately, with an asterisk. More on that in a second. But they said immediately. They also will be maintaining their home cultivation rights, and the state will be providing automatic expungements for prior convictions. A very nervous Republican Senator Rob McCauley detailed the changes following negotiations during an unusually long recess in committee Wednesday, stating that lawmakers' focus needs to be stamping out the black market and protecting the access that the people of Ohio voted for, but also ensuring administrative implementation runs as efficiently as it possibly can while protecting opportunities for Ohioans to engage in this new industry. Committee Chairman Michael Ruley, also Republican, said in a very low voice that the last 3 or 4 days, a lot of the public has reached out to probably every single one of our senators with thousands of emails and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of calls. And I think the people have spoken. He said that before abruptly storming off into a closed room. Instead of dropping home cultivation, the amended legislation maintains adults' rights to grow up to 6 plants per person, though it caps the household limit at 6 plants rather than 12 as set by the initiated statute. The committee also revised the bill to provide automatic expungements of certain prior cannabis-related convictions, something advocates pushed for, and that the voters approved, but was mysteriously left out of the SU2 initiative. The last version would have effectively recriminalized possession unless it was obtained from state-licensed retailers, sales of which would not be starting at least 1 year from the effective date. So that shit was dropped and replaced with language to immediately permitting adults to buy cannabis from existing medical dispensaries while adult use market regulations get hashed out. Macaulay said that could happen within 90 days of the bill's passage. Some of you guys might notice 90 days is not immediately, but that's the immediately asterisk I was talking about. But it is an unwritten rule amongst Ohio state Republicans to use cop math when making promises. So immediately equals 90 days. Soon is roughly 120 days. And the term considering is generally seen as that shit ain't happening unless Trump says that it's cool. 2 days. And a whole lot of calls, letters, and vitriol spewed from pissed off Buckeyes is all it took for Ohio's Senate General Government Committee to reverse their previously advanced legislation, fundamentally undoing the key provisions of the cannabis initiative voters passed at the ballot last month. And I'm going to say it here, so it is on the record, and she still might owe me $200 from a couple lost bets, but Gretchen Gailey was right. Y'all mad at cannabis legislation not going y'all's way? Call these fools up, email spam the shit out of them, and show up to these public hearings and give them hell. And maybe, just maybe, your state will end up with public servants doing what they were hired to do. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High 9 News. Love to hear you guys about this one. Ohio.
I actually have a follower of mine that actually was there. So it was crazy because this morning when I was sending my story to Jason, because it was my follow-up story, I seen this and I seen the first thing, and then I seen one of my followers actually there. She's with one of the senators, and she's like, yeah, I was a part of the process. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, this is going to be on the show today. I can't wait to see who's going to talk about it. Lo and behold, it was my guy, Rico. Yeah. And Rico, I was the only person who asked about you before you came into studio. So just let it be known. You ain't got to take a dump on all us conservatives out here, because you got to say rhino and then you got to say righteous when you're going to talk about those on the right. All right? We got the righteous and we got the rhinos.
Well,
right?
well, actually, you know what we do have? We do have an elephant sound for good elephants. That part.
You got that? You have the dying elephants for the rhinos? No. You just have like a
They're on
a rhinoceros.
It needs to be like a screeching. It needs to be like a screeching death call, like a last breath death call from an animal for a rhino, and then just put it up there for them, and just do it for all liberals too. Give them equal amount.
All of them.
Yes. We have a donkey sound too. So yeah, don't worry about that. We do have a donkey sound too.
Love it. What do you think about this one, Jason? This is good, man. I love this.
That's the donkey.
It's actually giving me a little bit of hope that maybe democracy is not dead in the United States of America.
I'm ecstatic about this. I think a lot of these politicians heard the will of their voters and the fact of how they felt so slighted by the fact that they voted on an issue and the lawmakers are trying to change it every which way around to make it not look like what they actually passed. And so good job to all of the activists and local individuals out there that did reach out to lawmakers and told them that this is not acceptable. I know I saw tons of tweets from people in Ohio that were like, we're going to have to vote these guys out on the next election. And so I just want to say kudos to all of them, because they definitely have made their voices heard to these elected officials.
Rachelle, what you
political
think
climate has definitely changed. We don't have the same political climate we had 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, where no one would have given two shits about this. Now, both parties recognize people want this. They're tired of waiting. Bullshit responses we get from politicians are no longer acceptable. This is safer than most anything you can do. The hysteria doesn't work anymore. People want it. The trap is out there. And where the hell are you going to go now? This problem gets fixed by honestly letting people do it and get out of their way as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And grow at home.
What do you think about this, Rachelle?
Yeah, I mean, exactly what's already been said. I mean, let's follow the will of the voters. I was very pleasantly surprised to see this news, simply because I'm so used to out-of-touch politicians, finding their own way, regardless of what their constituents think. So I was, very pleasantly surprised to see this go through the way that it did.
Yeah, and I covered this story yesterday, but there was the lone Republican who introduced the bill to allow for the home grow, and it sounds like a lot of the protections that they ended up adopting, he was standing out on his own. So we want to say kudos to him. Also, from yesterday, I don't remember the guy's name off the top of my head, so I apologize about that. But he was a Republican member of the legislature in Ohio. So shout out to him. And I do think that with Ohio being such kind of like a pivot state for the directional fortitude of the country, I wonder if the prohibitionists are really starting to lose some steam from this, because in the beginning you had all of these elected officials saying how they were going to remove a lot of the things that would go into effect from this bill and remove it, such as home grow and, adding extra taxation and whatnot. And all of a sudden they just did a total 180 on all of this. And I wonder if this is a pivotal point for cannabis overall within the whole country against the prohibitionists.
Shout out to Ohio, man.
I think this could have opened the door, showing people that if you barge on their door, bang and kick on their door and scream outside, something just might happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I hope this starts a movement with all the other states, man, because I know, Jason, you remember, man, back in 2016, how packed all of these, political meetings and everything, from State Hall all the way up, every city hall all the way up to Sacramento. Everything was always so active, and now it's just sad, man. There's not that many cannabis activists out or advocates out there even doing anything, because a lot of that steam has been lost. But hopefully this starts a movement, man, across the nation. Get this energize this green base that we do have, and it's not just about Republicans or Democrats. Like, get out there if you believe in this shit, and speak your piece.
Yeah,
because we all come together for the green, bro.
Mm-hmm. That's right. You know what else comes together, Rico?
What's that?
Booty cheeks.
Clap them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's right. Make it clap. Make it clap.
I'm mad that you got me to say that.
Yeah. You took the bait.
I'm sorry, Rachelle. I try to be a good person.
No,
Jason keeps on dragging me down.
Stop it, bro.
I'm sorry.
Jeez Louise. Coming up, we're going to go to a commercial. We're going to be right back. Sick of the December cold? Then fly out to Miami in December for Terp Basil, December 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. Presented by Sherbinski's at Skatebird in Miami, with tons of your favorite brands in attendance for this 4-day event, as well as Hyatt 9 News as one of the media partners. With live performances throughout the week by Dead Prez, Mayday, Visions Band, and Washi Fire. So, do like the birds and fly south to Miami for Terp Basil this winter, December 7th through the 10th in Miami, Florida.
He is known best for smoking the best weed in the world in places that he should and should not be smoking them. But today, he's bringing us the heat by way of the news.
Yes.
Y'all know who it is. Donald Trump's very favorite stoner. It is Jason Beck coming to the stage. What you got for us today, Jason?
Oh, yeah. Good morning, you guys. I hope everyone's having a fantastic day today. This Thursday. Man, this week is flying by fast. But I have some really, really big headlines coming out of D.C. Oh, boy, this is hot off the press coming out of the Hill, where James Comer signals openness to D.C. legalizing marijuana sales. That's right. House Oversight and Accountability Committee Chair James Comer, the same guy that filed the subpoenas for Hunter Biden and whatnot, said on Wednesday that he would support Washington, D.C. taxing and regulating legalized marijuana. Comer told reporters he would support it if that is what the city wants. Politico first reported, and his office confirmed to The Hill. His comments came after a meeting with Washington Mayor Muriel Bowser focused on local crime. Nearly 2/3 of D.C. voters favored legalizing marijuana for adult use in a 2014 ballot initiative in the district, and the possession of up to 2 ounces of marijuana is decriminalized for residents 21 years or older for adult use or medical purposes, according to the district's marijuana laws. Marijuana remains federally illegally, of course, making it issue a legal gray area. Comer's comments differ from congressional Republicans' views on marijuana sales in the past. In March 2022, the GOP preserved a years-old provision known as the Harris Rider, which bars the legalization of adult use sales, and local officials have pushed Congress to remove the rider by arguing that the cash-only market has caused more robberies and other violent crime. Bowser and other local officials have been criticized after crime shot up across the district this year. Representative Henry Cellular, Democrat from Texas, was carjacked outside his Navy Yard apartment in October. And in February, Representative Angie Craig, Democrat from Minnesota, was attacked and assaulted in her D.C. apartment building's elevator. In early November, Bowser announced that D.C. will be handing out free digital tracking tags for vehicles as car thefts have skyrocketed in the city, and crime in the district has steadily increased over the last year and has largely surpassed last year's totals in nearly every single category. So I guess their answer to this is to allow for legalized cannabis to be sold in the streets of D.C. But time will tell, and we will see what happens. But this is big progress from one of the ranking members in the Republican Party coming out and saying that this could be a good idea for D.C. And this is Jason Beck for the High at 9 News. What do y'all think about this?
Well, I like Mr. Comer. I like the fact that he's diligent. I like the fact that he's doing the very best he can to try to prevent World War III from happening by exposing what the crime family of the Biden crime family is doing. And I like the fact that he stood tall on his squares, on his 10 toes, stood there and told them, hey, I'm okay with everything. Make it illegal. We smell cigarette smoke. It's the worst smoke you can smell in your life. Marijuana smells pleasant to the nose. Let's just bring it on. That's what I'm thinking. So look at this. Hey, Rico, look, went back at you, buddy.
I'm gonna resist the bait. I'm not gonna talk about James Comer and his failure as a human being everywhere else. But I will champion this, and I'll say this is progress, man.
You gotta give people credit where credit's due.
You know what? You know what? I'm gonna.
That's why Rico's my friend, because at least he'll give you the credit.
Yep.
I'm not gonna take it. I'm not gonna take it there. I'm gonna resist. I'm gonna try to stay on cannabis today.
You're resisting.
You know, it's easy to get me going on these Republicans and the Democrats, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say this, man. Joe Biden and him not talking about cannabis has left a vacuum. Has created a void. And these Republicans seem like they're starting to fill it.
James Comer coming in for the win.
Like they're going to fill it.
That's right.
And if he does not move quickly, then it's wide open for.
You've seen that man move. You know nothing moves quickly about that man.
You know who to come out and support it before Joseph Robinette Biden does.
Man, and in all fairness, the Democrats had the House on the last term, and they didn't do anything to allow for this. And they're really, the House is really basically the city council for DC, which allows them to be able to do what they want to do. So,
yeah, this is crazy, and they need to do something about those about the carjacking in DC, man. Like my little brother's been telling me, streets is wild right now.
They said they're going to give out trackers, bro, to put on your car.
But yeah, they recommended. Yeah, he sent me an article. I'll send it to you guys. They recommended that people get Apple tags, like air tags.
I mean,
your car, to track your own car down. You find that motherfucker. You find it in a chop shop. You gonna go in there and try to get it?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Get shot the fuck up. Like, come on.
And not to mention those things. I don't think those things are like totally accurate. Like your car could be in one building and it says that it's in the building next door.
No, bro. It's very accurate.
It is
very accurate.
Really?
And let me explain this to you. And I'm glad our viewers are watching this. Listen, for you women that are out there, if I was you guys, I would go online on YouTube and look at videos for ways to know if you are being stalked by people, because they literally will put this in your gas cap and close your gas cap if it's open and put that tag in there, or they'll put it in a wheel well, and they will find you exactly to where you are. The Apple GPS tagging thing is so precise, it's ridiculous. Like it's not gonna be, could it be this house or that house? I know how it was back in the days when someone lose their phone, you don't know what house it is or whatever. It's not like that now. They're going to tell you exactly where it is, especially if that GPS tag is different. It'll tell you what level the person is on and everything else. It's different.
Get out of here.
Yeah, they'll find you.
I think that the recognition that we can't make everything illegal and then enforce it is out there to be brought through osmosis, if nothing else. For every 100,000 people, there's 2,000 property crimes a year. Okay, there's 6 murders. I mean, there's 360 violent crimes a year. And then you talk about weed. It's not violent. It's from Prohibition, where it was based upon the color of your skin and whether you were a fucking hippie or not. It's all horseshit. And the beat cops don't want to be doing this anymore. It's the policymakers. And Joe Biden just cannot get the fucking gumption up to say it's wrong to keep throwing people in jail for weed. He just can't do it. He was one of the architects of this whole goddamn war we started during the Reagan administration against drugs. And for whatever reason, so many politicians just cannot say, I was wrong, we need to chart a new course. If you're going to fight crime, let's fight violent crime involving moral turpitude, not people who use drugs or, it's incredibly stupid the way we're doing it. And I'm disappointed in all these guys. I mean, I hope the Republicans grab this, because I think it's a winning strategy.
It is.
Yeah.
As opposed to fighting abortion, which is
not only does it portray that you are evolving, but it also shows that you have empathy. You know, it shows like, hey, like this has been just too much. You know, like clearly this is used for medical purposes, and this has an open market that's been creating billions. And it's like you think about the states where it's open, like the markets where it's open, they've been making billions of dollars off of this in California for years. And I think the reason why Californians really haven't seen a total crush is because of the cultivation markets in California. So when they actually just put everything in its totality, they're going to say, it makes no sense that we've done this to this plant for this long, when it could have created so many jobs and it could have created so much more wealth tax-wise for the government. I just think that it's going to have to be a total reversal, and I believe that Republicans are going to see it for its fiscal capabilities more so than the recreational. I don't think they're going to care too much about that thing, but they care about money.
They definitely care about money. What do you think about this, Rachelle?
Yep. I agree. I mean, honestly, it's about time that they do this in DC. How long has it been now that you have to go into some shop and buy a T-shirt to get your weed?
But
right?
you can self-proclaim in DC.
Yeah, they're not hiding it. That's the most interesting part. It's like it's wide out in the open, like just open trapping, and it's just like it's so weird to me that they wouldn't just have regulated dispensaries. Like, what has been the holdup this whole time? But I do think that Tony is right. Like, Republicans can see the dollar signs, so let's get it going.
Oh yeah, look at that. Oh, that's a soundbite from Rachelle Gordon right there. Oh man, we're gonna have to clip that right there for sure.
Clip it.
Yes, man. I think this is a big win. I'm really excited that he's doing this, and also too in regards with the last story, I do believe that that Ohio is starting with their adult use sales. Their law goes into effect today. And I think that one of the other amendments in there that they included in that is to allow the medical shops to begin with adult use sales. So I'm wondering if we are going to see a story tomorrow in regards with adult use opening up today in Ohio. And
no, yeah, like I said, Jason, with the Ohio story, they said immediately, but it's 90 days.
All right, so basically the law goes into effect, but it'll be 90 days before they have sales.
Before they start allowing adults to just go into medical shops and buying shit.
Okay.
They said immediately, like I said, that because Ohio Republicans use cop math, so immediately means 90 days, and soon could be equivalent.
Draft is open this morning, though.
As soon as 90 days.
And they say they're
that.
considering something, that shit ain't happening unless Donald Trump tells them to make it happen.
Trump will tell him. Don't worry about that. Yeah, you don't worry about that part. Oh, yes. All right, well, coming up next, we have Mr. Attorney at Law, Mr. Dale Schafer. He's the founder of Armada Law Practice, and at one point in time did some time for a cannabis crime. That is right. It is Mr. Dale Schafer.
Morning, everybody. My story today, it's not a happy subject. It involves the dark side of the industry that most people don't want to acknowledge or talk about. It involves failed businesses in the industry. They're everywhere. My story comes out of Law 360. The header is Receiver Appointed in California Dispensary Contract Dispute. The parties are Pineapple Express Dispensary and the majority owner named Eisenberg, and then Pineapple Express Holdings, and the owner of that's a guy named Vincent Zade. And what I read last night was the order appointing a receiver. And as you read between the lines here, I've seen this so many times before. My firm handles these failed businesses quite regularly. And what appears to have happened is Eisenberg was a social equity applicant. And in most cases, you have to be a majority owner of the company that gets the permit. The way the rules work out here, 51% is typically where we are. Then you have to partner up with somebody, and that seems to be Mr. Zade. And Mr. Zade owned a company called Pineapple Express Holdings. They owned the building. They put together the paperwork to apply for a license, and this guy Eisenberg has to be the majority owner. And so there was an internal dispute. It's still going on. And Mr. Eisenberg sued Mr. Zade. And as part of the suit, they filed a motion to appoint a receiver. Now, this is a drastic step. I've handled a lot of these, our firm does too, where we manage to unravel these things without going into receivership, because a receiver is a court-appointed officer. He steps in, takes over your business. They take all your assets, all your liabilities, bring in everything, control it. It becomes an asset of the court, and you're basically told to stay home, don't bother us. Okay? That's a real drastic step to take in these situations. Now, what the court did is it issued an order, but the order is not going to take effect until after they have a hearing in January, which is what we call a show cause hearing. Now, for receivers to be appointed, you have to show that there's a dispute that falls within the receiver statutes, but then there's a necessity to bring them in, like there's assets being squandered, you're about to lose your business, somebody needs to step in and fix this problem. So we will see, because Mr. Zeddy said he's going to fight it, doesn't think it's necessary. Okay, but the bigger picture here is that we all like to promote trying to open businesses, get them up and running, break through these knuckleheads that are policymakers going to put regulations out. We'll do this. But I have seen so many problems inside the industry where people who've been, slinging weed for a while out of their trunk think I'm going to go in and run a business here. And I'm here to tell you, it's not like that. In my experience, the people with the most business acumen know little to nothing about weed. The people who know a lot about weed don't know shit about business. So unless you have a team working together that knows business and weed together that can actually get along, we end up with problems like apparently we're seeing here. They got into a lease with the partner, Mr. Zeddy, that Mr. Eisenberg is calling predatory, and there's now an unlawful detainer action. They're going to throw him out of the property. Mr. Zeddy is going to throw him out of the property, and the judge allowed that action to go forward. We have a situation here where I don't see how you get these parties to sit down and work this out. We like to get to them before they get to this point where they want to, go out and smack each other in the mouth. They can't get along. I've actually sent them to some industrial psychologists trying to figure out, can you guys figure a way to get along here? Some of these relationships are just too far down the road. Oh, well, this is a motion. I haven't seen the response from it yet, and I haven't seen what the judge does. But I want to just caution people out there, if you're going to go into one of these businesses and you don't understand the risks and you don't have the money and you don't have a decent plan and you don't know the people you're involved with here, your chances of failing are pretty high. And right now in California especially, everybody owes everybody money, and trying to unravel these debt situations is a challenge. And a receivership, you go in there and you give up your business to the receiver until the court's satisfied that it doesn't need to have a receiver anymore. A bad place to put yourself. There's other things you can do besides that. So if you guys, let's talk about the bad side. I mean, we all like to talk about the good side, but there's a bad side of this industry. And we need to be able to let people know that there are ways to fix these problems without having to walk around town with guys packing next to you, Tony, or to be someplace else where someone's going to kick the shit out of you, kneecap you, or something like that. I'm throw it back at you. What do you guys think about this?
Man, Dale, well, I can tell you what, I actually had the pleasure of interviewing Jenny Beth Dills in regards to this, and at the beginning of the year, we're going to have that interview come out in regards to this whole situation that is going on. So this is just the latest development of that, and maybe we'll have her back over to have a little part 2 in relation with this receivership. But I'll tell you what, receivership is a no-winning type of move when this happens to a cannabis business. I had a cannabis business that went into receivership. It owned $500,000, and by the time it got out of receivership, it owed $5 million. So I'm going to say receivership is not necessarily always the answer. It is only for crazy extreme circumstances, and I wish everybody the best in regards to this. It's going to be messy, messy, messy.
Well, and we work with a receiver who's cannabis experienced, and there's only a couple in the state. There aren't many. You throw this to a typical receiver, first of all, they milk the system for everything they can.
They do. That's what they do. Exactly. Mm-hmm.
They drive it off a cliff. They don't give a shit. It's not their business.
They don't care.
Oh,
and they have no liability.
None, zero. Oh, my God. It's horrible. I mean, you can do lots of things that you can do. Assignments for the benefit of creditors is something that we consider. We wrap debts up and we structure them so they get paid by the selling company, and you sell the company and you take those on, and the buying company doesn't get them. There's a lot of ways that you can structure debt, get these companies out of trouble. Once you go down the road to receivership, I mean, this company is ordered to hand over the keys. You can't go on the property without the receiver's permission. Okay, That's how draconian this shit gets.
That very, very true, very true. You guys, any other?
It's gonna get messy, man. We're gonna see a lot. We're gonna see a lot more of this. So.
Oh yeah. That's without a doubt. This is definitely gonna get.
You can't do bankruptcy in the industry.
Yeah.
And the receivership, the goal is to try to get you out of situations where you owe people more money than you can come up with.
But then you end up owing more money than when you went in. So what's the point of the receivership, Dale?
Well, there are situations where you can force it. I mean, if the business is going down the tubes and the partners are fighting and you're trying to protect assets for creditors, and you can't get to bankruptcy, you can convince a judge to, all right, we're going to stop all this right now, and we're going to preserve assets for creditors. Okay? You want to do that before you get to the judge who orders you, and recognize that maybe I can't stand this son of a bitch, my former partner, but I don't want these debts to be over my head the rest of my life. We're going to have to go out and fix this, and there are ways to do that. But this is the backdoor part of the industry that people don't like to talk about. I want everybody to get a license, but if you don't know what the hell you're doing, you don't run these like a real business, you end up in these situations where there's no compass heading you can turn that has a good answer to it.
Mm-hmm. Very, very true, Dale. Very true. Any thoughts on this, Tony, Rachelle? All right. Seeing no.
No.
Seeing no, we are going to move right into a commercial, and we're going to be right back.
Partnered.
How's it going, guys? Saman Razani coming to you from Green Street here with Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast available on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify? Tune in now and check it out.
Oh, yeah. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you hit that like button. Also, it'll make you feel better, we'll feel better, and YouTube will appreciate you for it, too. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you've not subscribed already. And all the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read on our website at www.highat9news.com. The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated. You with us, Rico? Rico.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Y'all know who it is up next. It is the Minnesota queen of all things Lego. She's also editor over at Green
State. Yeah.
I've never got it wrong, Jason. I was just gonna bait you into that one.
I got it.
Y'all know
right.
who it is. The top reporter, journalist, the one with the real credentials on our team, coming to the stage next. Rachelle Gordon.
The legit journalist, the High Nine News. I will tell you, I've been out for a couple weeks. A few people came up to me at MJ BizCon and said, "Yo, I know you from High at 9 News." So this might actually be my claim to fame. So
shout out to them.
Yeah,
yes.
Shout out to the viewers. Thanks for coming up.
100%.
So my story this week comes from my colleague, Kara Wheatstock here at Green State. Japan opens doors for patients, but closes cannabis loopholes. So Japan is set to allow cannabinoids in medical products following approval from the House of Councilors, also known as Parliament. This comes less than a month after clearing the House of Representatives, the Japan Times reports. Now that the law is announced, it should be around 1 year until it goes into effect. Law would effectively allow doctors to prescribe Epidiolex, a CBD anti-seizure medication approved in the US and Europe. Japan started phase 3 of a clinical trial on the drug in December 2022. Despite a win for medical patients, the laws actually tightened consumption rules in other areas. Formerly, there was a loophole in the 1948 cannabis control law that didn't overtly ban the consumption of cannabis. It just banned the possession, trade, and cultivation. This was meant to protect hemp farmers who unknowingly absorbed psychoactive cannabinoids while growing hemp. However, public opinion led lawmakers to close the gap, explicitly banning cannabis consumption due to a perceived rise in interest from young people. As the new law is enacted, 2 cultivation licenses will be established. One will grant farmers the right to grow cannabis for medical products, and the other will be reserved for hemp farmers growing plants with little to no THC. Despite a rigid anti-cannabis stance, Japanese farmers have been cultivating hemp for decades. I'm going to screw this pronunciation up for sure. Tochigi Prefecture is the hub for industrial hemp agriculture in the country, where a low THC strain called Tochigi Shiro was bred in 1982. The plants are not for getting high, but farmers still face stigma from their communities, according to a story from the Japan News. Perhaps passing this new bill and building a licensing structure in the blossoming space will bolster community support for the tradesmen. Law is a forward step for a country that has been known to sentence people to up to 7 years in prison for possessing small quantities of cannabis. First looks at the bill may be disheartening for adult use consumers hoping for a legalized land of the rising sun, but it's not all bad. Patients seeking cannabis medicine will now have access to more cannabis products in the country, benefiting many. It has also initiated the design of a structure that could evolve into a more robust industry in the future. So, What do you guys think about this? Japan has always been wildly anti-cannabis. Is this a step in the right direction? Is it simply low-dose CBD? Will anything ever come of it? What do you guys think?
This is great news for Japan. This is a big step for them. Yes, this is great.
Yeah, it's kind of like it was like a half step forward and kind of a half step backwards because because they said if you don't have medical a card or anything like that, like it's 7 years mandatory.
Well, it's funny because that was always about like possession, and so I'm wondering about how they're going to know if someone consumed cannabis. Like, are they all of a sudden going to start like testing people's blood or something to figure out if they've been smoking pot, or is it more like they're just like, well, we want to make sure that we have our bases covered, so we're writing this into the law.
Well, at the same time, Rachelle,
it was originally going to be 5. It was 5 years mandatory prison sentence, and now it's 7 years mandatory prison sentence. So maybe it's just rhetoric to scare the people.
Well, no, but at the same time, if you
think about it,
if you go to a hospital in Japan and they draw your blood, that might be the cue for them to figure that part out. You know what I mean? They might not just be testing people just off the streets, but it just might be when you subject yourself to different things, then all of a sudden these tests are going to come up.
Mm-hmm.
They're telling you what they're going to do. We know what it takes for them to find out if you've been smoking weed or not. So we know what they're going to do. They're going to test you when they want to test you. That's what it seemed like. And I personally feel like this. Me being a proud conservative, I care about America first. So unless this is going to make PlayStation games great again, I don't really even.
I mean, why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't it? If they're loosening up their cannabis policies out there.
No, because some guy out there is going to get 7 years. So it doesn't matter.
They will make an example out of somebody.
Somebody who creates. They're going to do it to somebody who really does great gaming software. He's going to be made the example out of. This is just going to make PlayStation games horrible. I'm not.
Are you serious? Get out of here. You're bad.
Yo, do you know what kind of pressure that is, dude? To know that if you even remotely smell like marijuana, somebody might just grab you up and just start probing you.
But it's been like that forever, though, in Japan. That's been the status quo in Japan for a long time. Like, that's not something new.
It's horrible. That's horrible, dog.
Yeah, but you remember, but the market is insane. Like, you get a crazy high price for flour and for concentrates out there.
Yeah, you get 7 years if they catch you doing something. I don't know. Crazy, so.
You do. It's all risk.
7 years is a lot of time. It's a long time.
They don't honor our constitutional rights either. So they'll snatch your ass up, stick a probe up your ass, and do what they want with you, and you don't have anything to say about it.
You can't blame it on the aliens.
Yeah, a big shout out. A lot of people remember Lee Scratch Perry, the reggae legend. He actually wrote a letter to the Japanese government to get Paul McCartney out of prison because he was arrested for cannabis possession in Japan, in Tokyo.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that what that song Band on the Run is all about? Him getting busted in Japan?
Yes. And they do not care how big of a name you are or whatever. But apparently Lee Scratch Perry, rest in peace. He had pull back then, and the Japanese people, they love their reggae music.
That's
how ironic.
That's a very cute little.
They love reggae music more than they love the Beatles, apparently.
Apparently, or maybe they
Sir Paul was sentenced to 10 years. And
maybe he should have said. Maybe he should have said, "No, man, this is not the marijuana." And they would have been like, "Okay, I'm sorry, you go ahead and go."
They should have just said it's THCA.
Believe it or not,
I didn't light it up. It's not illegal.
It has a pungent smell to it too. Delta 8 smells like flour. Delta 8 lit smells like flour. It has a pungent smell to it too. So he could have just said it was Delta 8. They would have treated him like he was from Austin, Texas.
Sprayed Delta 8 flour? Like hemp?
Yeah, he could have said it just some Delta 8 hemp. It stinks the same. If you burn it, it stinks the same.
Wow.
They're all still political crimes, guys. I mean, using drugs, especially smoking weed, is not a crime involving moral turpitude. They're because politicians wanted to do this. So they're political crimes, and there's too many people doing them anymore to just ignore them. And there's a long time where the people that smoke weed weren't in large enough numbers to make any difference, but now it does. When we talked about today, Ohio went, oh shit, man, people want to do this, better let them, because people are doing this. These are political crimes. You can't justify throwing somebody in prison for smoking weed. I mean, I went there, I don't know, Tony, you went there, and it's like, okay, I'm sitting here for what? Because I gave a sick person some weed? That makes no sense. I didn't beat anybody up. I didn't try to steal anybody. I ain't a liar. I'm not a murderer. That's where, real
they
crime
came to me
is.
to get it. They traveled, sought me out, came to me to get something that they felt they needed to deal with life. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to think about this. Why aren't we holding the people accountable that's making people's lives suck so much that people are willing to go and shoot a needle in their arm in broad daylight in San Francisco? How can life be so horrible that the only thing you can think of is just by destroying your life more by being in the streets and doing stuff like that? And then they don't want to hold themselves accountable for the division they're creating. They don't want to hold themselves accountable for the sick and twisted, demented way the whole population as a whole is thinking. This me, horrible aspect of thinking. And they're responsible for it. They're responsible for their hate. They're the leaders. When someone is the leader in my household, when things go bad, when we're late on something, or if the money's messed up, I'm the leader of my household. I'm responsible. Whether or not I spent the money or not, it doesn't matter. I'm a leader of my household. I'm responsible. So, and they're not taking responsibility for their actions. They're just locking up they're locking up and trying to scrub away the harm that they're actually doing to society. That's it.
Well, these are drugs of despair, Tony. And see, they're really going after drugs of despair. We have a country that a lot of people are in despair about. Okay, so when you use substances that help you with despair and they throw you in jail, this is a circle jerk you just cannot get out of. I mean, I was the white guy that they went after for weed. We were told, hey, you should have never gotten involved in this. Okay, why? Because they want to go after people of color. Let's just be blunt here. Mm-hmm. I was not. I mean, I was told, hey, you're the golden children. Molly and I, you should never gotten involved in this. Well, why? What we did was righteous, okay? It was right. And we were thrown in fucking prison for 5 years for doing the right thing. No one wants to talk about that part of this. Mm-hmm. Trying to control drugs with the law never worked. We just passed.
Watch this, bro. They're drug dealers.
Anniversary of football prohibition. Doesn't fucking work.
They bring the drugs in, right? They bring the drugs in, and then this is what they do. They'll have a confidential source. They'll give drugs to this. They'll take the drugs away from the drug dealer. Then they'll take the drugs out of evidence to give it to a confidential informant. They'll let this person sell these drugs, destroy the community in order to get another drug dealer caught up in another rap. So they send out drug dealers. They give the drug dealers drugs and money and allow them to create a fictitious life. They sell these drugs and dispense it throughout the community, harming people, just so they can get someone else that's in the community doing the same thing they were sent in the community to do in the first place. If you watch, anyone watching, please, I implore you, watch American Made. I implore you to go watch the El Chapo story that's on Netflix, and it breaks down how your government has been intricate in the drug trafficking throughout this country. They're doing it on purpose. They create the error in the environment, which is harmful. They allow the drugs to come in here, and then they lock you up for the drugs they allow to come in here. This is the cycle that they've created.
What I would like to say here is that I hope that a new leaf is turned in Japan and they start moving towards legalization, because I can't imagine a more beautiful place to get high as hell. A more serene place, a more zen place on earth than to go out to Okinawa and just blaze the fuck up.
And hand rolls are...
Damn, he just made that sound pornographic.
But hand rolls are so amazing.
Fantastic. That'd be a fantastic trip.
Sushi's one of the best foods to eat when you're high.
Yeah, just eating sushi.
Yes.
Eating fresh sashimi.
Getting it.
Just out
with
there.
Nothing but a silk.
In nature.
Nothing but a silk. What's the silk gishi on? What's the robe? What's the robe's name? With this? What's that? What's the robe they have there?
Kimono.
A kimono. Nothing but a silk kimono. Big fat one lit. And some sushi in front of you, California rolls.
And your slides.
And that is one place, Nick Bradley, that is one place I would be wearing flip-flops.
Yeah.
I would wear flip-flops. and look, and I would do the in-between toe flip-flops just to keep it culture, keep it culture appropriate.
You rock the John Clintox?
I'll get the thong flops. Give me the thong flops. Just give me the thong flops.
Yes. And on that, we're going to go to a commercial. We're going to be right back.
I'm Jason Beck. and this is Smoky Vanilla. And if you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to get yourself a stretch and smoke with Smoky Vanilla.
That's right, baby. I'm Smoky Vanilla with my background in kinesiology. I'm a sports massage therapist and stretch coach. I focus mostly on athletes who have chronic pain or injury due to their sport, or the legends of the chronic in the game, baby.
Oh, yeah, you know what it is. We just stretched, and now we're gonna smoke, because you know what it is.
That's right. I love intuitively creating a session based on the individual I'm working with. We'll go through a few assessments, look at the past health history, injury, or anything that's still affecting you today, and create a customized session just for you. Let's go.
We got to do it again.
Oh, yes. Coming up next. That's right. It is the man you love to hate. That's right. He represents the black conservative voice that Joe Biden would love to silence for even acknowledging it exists. That's right. It is none other than Mr. Tony Montaga.
I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank all my co-hosts. And I want to tell you guys good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Because somewhere around the world, it is truly what time it is. And if you heard someone saying that stick, they got it from me. Now, we're going to do a backtrack. This is just my follow-up on Lubbock County here in Texas and the legislation that is currently taking place. Local Texas lawmakers officially placed marijuana decriminalization initiative on Lubbock's May 2024 ballot. Lawmakers in Lubbock, Texas, has officially approved a resolution to put a local marijuana decriminalization initiative on the ballot next spring after declining to enact on the reform legislatively. The Lubbock City Council voted Tuesday to schedule a special election on the issue for May 4th, 2024. This comes 1 month after legislators unanimously rejected the decriminalization proposal that was put on the agenda after activists submitted enough signatures to force its consideration. The committee behind the marijuana initiative first filed paperwork for the Freedom Act Lubbock ordinance with the city secretary in August. After activists turned in more than 10,000 signatures, officials confirmed that the campaign submitted enough petitions to move ahead in the process earlier this month. They ain't respected. Local lawmakers in Lubbock, which is Texas' 10th largest city by population. It has a considerable amount of people there. Last I checked, it was 310,369 people there. 30 days, had 30 days to hold a hearing to make a decision as to whether they would enact decriminalization. They did so in November, opting to defeat it and put the issue to the voters instead. 1 day before the vote to schedule the May 2024 cannabis election, Adam Hernandez, communications chair for the group Lubbock's Compact, which helped lead the effort to collect signatures for decriminalization, announced his bid for mayor of Lubbock. Under the committee's proposal, local police would be prohibited from making arrests or citations to adults in possession of up to 4 ounces of cannabis unless there's a binding state or federal court order against the policy. If that does happen, the initiative says the city's policy shall be to make enforcement a Class A and Class B misdemeanor marijuana possession. It lowers enforcement priority. The text of measure says that it's meant to promote the health, safety, and general welfare of the people of Lubbock. Enacting the reform is in the interest of carefully allocating scarce city resources, reducing the risk of discriminatory enforcement practices, and focusing city resources on the highest priority public safety concerns. Lubbock would be the second largest city by population in the state to enact the reform. It would join the cities including Austin, Delton, England, Hacker Heights, Killing, and San Marcos that were largely led by Ground Game, Texas. The organization recently released a report that looked at the impact of those similar marijuana, reform efforts. It found that the measures will keep hundreds of people out of jail, even as they have led to blowback from law enforcement in some cities. The initiatives have also driven voter turnout by being on the ballot, the report said. Another decriminalization measure that went before voters in San Antonio in May was overwhelmingly defeated. But that proposal also introduced provisions to prevent enforcement of abortion restrictions. Shortly after voters in Hacker Heights approved the measure, the city council overturned the ordinance over concerns that it conflicted with state law. But activists collected signatures for another initiative and successfully repealed the repeal in May. The Kaleen Council temporarily paused implementation of its local voter-approved ordinances, arguing that there were legal concerns that lawmakers need to sort through before giving it their approval, which they eventually did. But in April, Bell County filed a lawsuit challenging the policy. At the state level, this session, the Texas House of Representatives passed a series of bills to decriminalize marijuana, facilitate expungements, and allow chronic pain patients to access medical cannabis as an opioid alternative, but they ultimately stalled out in the Senate, which has been a theme for cannabis reform measures in the conservative legislature over several sessions. The House passed similar cannabis decriminalization proposals during the past two legislative sessions in 2021 and 2019. Separately, a Texas Democratic senator brought the issue of marijuana legalization to the Senate floor earlier in May, seeking to attach an unrelated resolution, an amendment that wouldn't have allowed Texans to vote on ending prohibition at the ballot box. But the symbolic proposal was ultimately shut down. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, Republican, agreed to another member's point of order, deeming the cannabis amendment not germane to the border legislation. Nearly 3 in 4 Texans vote 72% support decriminalizing marijuana. According to a University of Texas Politics Project poll last year, more than half, 55%, meanwhile said they're in favor of broader legislation. 17% said it shouldn't be legal at all. 17% sucks. In March, the same institutional summary showed that a majority of Texas voters feel that the state's marijuana laws should be less strict. And I believe that is it. Well, my co-host, I'm going to give my 2 cents and then I'm going to let my co-host have at it. I personally feel like this is where Republicans here are dropping the ball. And I believe that it isn't about the people or protecting people or safety. I've never known anyone to get high on marijuana and just go kill a bunch of people. I believe that this is about the criminal industrial complex and about putting bodies needlessly inside of prisons so you can have cheap prison labor done. So Corecraft and the other people who are working at the behest of our government can have cheap prison labor and pay people 10 cents an hour for 8 hours a day to do work they would have to be paid 22 hours, the $22 or 25 hours an hour if they were free people. This isn't about trying to keep people safe. This isn't about, if they told you 55%, more than half, over half of the population of Texas would want it to be legalized in some way, shape, or form. This means it's not about the voters. It means it's about money that they get, and the only money they get from this is by locking people up. They're not getting money from selling marijuana, or they would sell marijuana and allow it to be sold. They're getting money from locking people up. They're allowing police officers to say that they smell marijuana in your car, and this gives them enough reason to pull you out your car illegally. So as long as you fit a description or something that they're told they need to look for, or something that they're programmed to think that this is what a criminal looks like, then this gives them the open air opportunity to even lie and say they smell marijuana in your car, hit a marijuana in your car so they can go in your car and illegally search your car, illegally pull you out your car and search you. Don't be sleep at the wheel, you guys, especially my fellow Texans here in Texas. I know when you're in Texas, you do Texas, but eventually they're going to have to do Texas because the people will respond. Over 55% of the people said make it legal.
Yeah.
Is there, this is from everybody I've talked to in Texas. They say like Greg Abbott don't run the state, it's Dan Patrick.
Yep.
It's all Dan Patrick against all of this. I think, as we've seen in other Republican-run states, man, you got to hit them with both the medical stories that hit home to them, whether it's a close relative or something. They have to feel it. They have to. That's the only way to get them to empathize on this on the medical side, and then it hit them hard on the economical side, man. Those are things that we've seen work, with them, but it's an uphill battle for Texas, man. I feel real bad for the folks in Texas that they got to go get their gas station Delta 8 packs that are totally unregulated. It's the only way that they can get it. And I just really hope that this passes. Big shout out to Lubbock. Good luck on this one.
Yeah, and shout
out to Leah Patrick in the comments too in the chat. She said 2 to 4 ounces is not enough. Shout out to Leah Patrick in the chat. You're right, It's not enough.
Well, also what she also said in the chat is they used the word spasticity instead of using the word pain. And that is a very big distinction as far as qualifying conditions.
Words matter.
Yes.
Words matter.
So shout out to Leah watching from the great state of Texas. Oh, yeah.
Great purple state of Texas.
It's a red state.
The problem is...
No. Texas is red.
Yes.
The hell, Rico? Don't listen. California, though, now that's purple, Rico.
Clip that. Clip that.
That's purple. California is really, really purple. California is Barney, I love you, you love me purple.
Oh,
and then green in the middle.
California's a deep hue of blue, but it's just a very big NIMBY state. I'm
gonna be in California next week with Dr. Dope. So hopefully we could get something done. Maybe we could talk to some of the viewers that's in California, and maybe we can have a meetup or something like that too, and have a smoke out session. We'll go to Jason Beck's mansion.
Yes.
We'll go to Chris Brown's mansion.
We could do that too.
One of the mansions.
We could do that.
We should have it at French Laundry with
oh, that would be good.
Gavin Newsom. Let's go to
that.
Yes.
Let's go pay $12,000 for a plate on Gavin. Because he took the money from all the Californians.
Oh, you guys are
get some tenths. You guys sent out by Troy from the great state of Ohio.
I got one more
top shelf tenths.
I got one more summarized story for you guys before we get out of here. You guys ready for this?
Let me hear.
Let's do it.
All right. The DEA threatens Georgia pharmacies over dispensing medical marijuana under the state law. That's right. A DEA letter dated November 27th says that the DEA registered pharmacy may only dispense controlled substances in Schedules 2 through 5 of the Controlled Substances Act, and that marijuana and THC cannot be lawfully possessed, handled, or dispensed by any DEA-registered pharmacy. Well, this is going to be interesting for what happens when they try to Schedule 3. The congressional budget rider prevents the Department of Justice from interfering with state medical marijuana laws, and it's not immediately clear how DEA will square its threat against the state-authorized pharmacies. States that have legalized medical cannabis have avoided a distribution through traditional pharmacies to avoid conflicts with federal pharmaceutical law and regulations, but Georgia's Board of Pharmacy began accepting applications from independent pharmacies to dispense low THC cannabis oil back in October. As of late October, at least 3 pharmacies had begun dispensing botanical sciences products. If sales of medical cannabis products went online in all locations, about 90% of Georgians would be within 30 minutes of one of these places. Pharmacists are trusted providers, and this will destigmatize the new medicine, Mindy Leach told the Associated Press. And the state's Board of Pharmacy and Department of Public Health did not immediately respond to requests for comment. And in August, the Department of Health and Human Services recommended that the DEA reschedule cannabis as a Schedule 3 controlled substance, but the DEA has mostly been silent on the matter since then. 6 Democratic governors wrote a letter to Biden administration urging the rescheduling to be compelled and be done by the end of the year, and the governors point to a poll that found 88% of Americans support legalization for medical and adult use. The government has released HHS rescheduling letter to the DEA in a highly redacted form, including the scheduling recommendations itself and for scientific review portion that was attached to the letter, and the government has since released HHS's rescheduling letter to the DEA in highly redacted form. The document says that the recommendation was based on the 8 factors determinative of control, they say. Well, Georgia. Oh, man, this is a problem, Dale, for all of the patients in Georgia. The DEA is basically saying, nope, you pharmacies, you cannot be giving out controlled substances, and you're basically screwed. Maybe you should.
Like a leopard, it never changes its spots, Jason.
That's right.
If you're going to go to Schedule 3, there's nobody I know of right now who's going to get one of them licenses.
Exactly right.
Manufacturing, growing, and turning it into whatever, and then a pharmacy is a pharmacy is a pharmacy.
Exactly.
Okay.
You know what they call a leopard that changes its spots, Dale?
What's that?
A cheetah.
Oh boy, that was cute. That was a great dad joke, Rico. Real
Hey,
funny.
I've had to deal with the DEA more times than I care to remember, and those son of a bitches are not going to change their mind about this.
Nope.
If you want to grow the government swag right now, you got to spend years jumping through hoops just to get permission to grow what Mississippi used to grow in their little spot. No social equity, nobody with a criminal record. I mean, Tony, you and I are done. We're not going to get in this if it goes that place. And you're going to have a dispensary license, and not what we have now. It's going to have to be more like a pharmacy where you can get all these other substances, and it's a shit show. If you want to know what the DEA is going to do, they just tip their hand.
Facts.
All they're going to do is put more power in the hands of the people that shouldn't have the power in the first place.
That's right.
No one should have power over anything they are not vested in, nor should they have power if they don't care about it. When you care about something, then you're going to take care of it better than you would anything else. A big point in saying that real quick for you guys is just people who have regular house flowers. You don't forget to water your flowers. The flowers never scream to you and tell you, or the plants don't scream to you and tell you, I'm thirsty, I want water. No, but if you care enough, you're looking at them every day, and you see where they start to, lean over. You see where they're not looking as healthy. And if you're truly, invested in it, you're going to water your plants. No one should have power over something that they have nothing invested in, nor do they care about. And when they don't care about it, they have nothing invested in it, and you give them power over it, guess what happens? They ruin it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you give a bureaucrat or a bureaucracy any level of power and fund them, you're never getting that money stream and that power back from them. They're going to fight you. The DEA is the top dog in drugs right now, and if you think they're going to stand by and let you take any of their power or authority away, I'm here to tell you they're not. They're going to fight you at every step of the way.
I agree with that 100%. They do not want to give up their bag at all whatsoever or let anybody play in their sandbox.
Nope.
Yep. And on that note, thank you all for joining us for yet another episode of High 9 News. You can catch us live weekdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to the super fans showing love, getting their comments posted live on the big screen, to our live audience and online supporters catching us across all media platforms, tuning in each day to the headlines of chaos, also known as the developing cannabis industry. To our vetted correspondent team tuning in from all over, bringing us much needed variety of perspective and your respected opinions to the table as well. To our production team, Cloud Media Partners, our sponsors keeping the lights on, and our AV struggles to a minimum. What up, Adam? And as always, Cannabis Sativa L, the reason that we show up to read these stories every single day. Thank you, Boo. It has been Thursday, the thirstiest of all days, December 7th, 2023. The show is over. You've all been blessed with the top industry headlines. Hope was enough for you to put in your pipe and smoke at least until tomorrow. My name is Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street, and I'd like to give it today to Mr. Tony Montaga. You got the outro, brother.
And I like to tell every last one of you out there, don't forget, all of us had a mother. That's how we got here. So when you see a woman in the street, make sure you show her respect. That's my word for today.